What up, boxing fans? Since I did a video on Oscar De La Hoya's worst 5 performances, so his top 5 worst in-ring fights in of his whole career, I want to do his top 5, or actually top 4 best performances in ring, and I wanted to start uh, exactly where I started in the beginning of that video because I think his least worst performance was also his least best performance, if that makes any sense. I think his fight with Felix Trinidad was one of his best performances, oddly enough. That based on you have to remember he was whooping Trinidad's ass for the first 9 rounds. He was outboxing him. Like he said, he was giving him a boxing lesson. He literally set the blueprint for Bernard Hopkins to whoop Trinidad's ass later at middleweight. And that's exactly what happened. Uh, De La Hoya was landing the jab. He was actually throwing the right hand. And he was letting that right hand go, and it was landing. He was throwing the right hand to the body, of the head. He was boxing beautifully. All he had to do was win one of the last 3 rounds, and we could say, hey, he won this fight, convincingly, absolutely, no doubt about it. But he had to run for the last 3 rounds, and that's why that performance was that's what took away from his performance. And you could blame his corner for giving him that advice, but you have to blame him because as a Mexican fighter, you have to close the show, man. You have to put it all on the line and do the best you can, just like the great Mexican fighters that came before him, like Chavez, like Eric Morales and Barrera. Those guys went all out for 12 rounds. And he should have done the same in this fight, and if he did, he would have gotten a victory. But, credit to him for exposing Trinidad and showing how to, outbox him clearly over 9 rounds. It is what it is. To me, his number 3 best performance in his whole career, to me, was against Shane Mosley. That to me that's one of the as a fight, that was probably the best fight he's ever been in. It was just all action packed. Exchange after exchange of just hard, fast punches, like tremendous fight. Shane Mosley in the first Shane Mosley fight. Absolutely action packed from beginning to end. And what really happened was Shane Mosley was landing his right hand around De La Hoya's guard, and he landed some wicked left hooks, and De La Hoya landed some wicked left hooks, and he couldn't land the right hand as much because Shane Mosley was blocking it, but he was landing some great left hooks, and he did land some right hands. Now, and he was landing the jab as well. But what happened was it was such a great action-packed fight. It was pretty much even going into the championship rounds, and again, De La Hoya he just got out hustled. As Jim Lampley said, he's getting outworked and he's getting outlanded where it matters most. And that's what happened. Mosley was just outlanding him, and he was just landing that right hand and his left hook. And everything was just perfect for Mosley. He was outlanding him and out hustling Oscar De La Hoya in the last 3 rounds, and that's what won him the fight. It was a great fight. But that's what won him the fight. Tremendous action-packed fight by Oscar De La Hoya against Shane Mosley. That's why I ranked that number 3 in his best performances. Number 2, I rank Oscar De La Hoya versus Quartey. I think that was a very underrated fight. He definitely you see, the thing is, in my opinion, my scorecard had him losing against Quartey, but I ranked that number 2 because in that fight he closed the show. He knocked down Quartey in the 12th round, and he let it all on the line. he went all out to try and, take Quartey out in the 12th round. And he was doing that for a reason, because he knew the fight was was on the line, or maybe he was behind on the card, so he was trying to knock him out. But it turned out, the fight was on the line, and that was the big difference in the fight, was the knockdown in the 12th round, and he pulled it out. So, other than that, I thought he was getting getting hit with Quartey's jab way too much, and he was getting hit by right hands way too much. But he still fired back. They both got knocked down in the fight. They traded knockdowns, which always makes for a great fight. And De La Hoya got the last knockdown in the 12th round, and it turned out to be the difference. So credit to De La Hoya. He finally closed the show and pulled out a victory in the later rounds. And that's why I rank it number 2, because he finally closed the show. And if only he did that more often, he would be regarded much higher if he just did that more often, closing the show in the championship rounds. And Oscar De La Hoya's number 1 fight that I think he's been in is the great boxing match against Fernando Vargas. Him being trained by Floyd Mayweather, he threw beautiful combinations in that fight. He had his jab, he had his right hand going, he had the left hook going. Everything was very fluent. He was even working the Mayweather defense, if you were spotting De La Hoya's defense. But although he's not as good as Floyd Mayweather, that's patented Floyd Mayweather. But he was working out of that defense, and it was working well for him. Fernando Vargas was, he was missing on the ropes, but he was landing as well. It was a very, very momentum-based fight. De La Hoya had his rounds. Fernando Vargas had his rounds. It went back and forth. And then finally De La Hoya takes over after the 6th round. Actually, no, about after the 8th round he takes over. And once he took over, man, Fernando Vargas was in trouble. Once he got caught under his right eye by a vicious left hook, it was just all over. And that left hook was on fire in the 9th and 10th rounds, and that's what got him the big knockouts. And man, Jim Lampley went crazy in that. in the final round of that fight, Jim Lampley went berserk. He was just like, he was getting off or something. I don't know, but De La Hoya, tremendous victory against Fernando Vargas. I rank that as his best fight ever. I think you've never seen De La Hoya fight a better fight than what he did against Fernando Vargas. And to be honest, Fernando Vargas is probably he's the 3rd best out of that competition, because he actually beat Quartey, but he lost to Mosley and Trinidad. So still, that was a tremendous, spectacular performance against Fernando Vargas. And I love the Larry Merchant quote at the end of that fight, where he said, Fernando Vargas had a 6-pack in his stomach, but he did not have a 6-pack in his chin. Alright, peace out. Take care, guys.